right? Because how is she going to explain this to her parents, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So for her, it was a very spooky thing, but she was very taken aback when I said, don't worry, it's only a car. Okay. Now, I had insurance and, whatever. So, but here's what I'm trying to explain is the mindset. When you have that mindset, you can shift in the event of an emergency, in the event of something bad happening to you, okay? But when you are attached to something, okay? I don't care if it's a person, inanimate object, when you form an attachment, that's when you have the degree of difficulty. Okay, that's when you have a problem. Because when something happens to whatever that is, whatever you're attached to, person, place, thing, okay, whatever that is, there's going to be a problem. You're going to have to go from the glass half empty to the glass half full for the sake of your manifestation. Because, let's say, for example, I lashed out at her. Let's say, for example, I yell at her or get mad at her or get angry at her, express anger. Now what happens? Well, not only do you set up what's going to happen next, okay, but you're putting those energetic vibrations out there that will come back to you. Okay, it will come back to you. So what you're doing by becoming the observer is you're preserving the integrity of the situation, number one. Okay, you're controlling the situation. Why are you controlling the situation? Because you're not responding, you're observing. Okay, so the situation just is. You see, you're not growing that situation into something else. You're not managing or dictating or moving the situation in any one direction. Okay. When you do that, or when you get angry, or when you get upset, or when you label it, when you go, oh, this is that. Oh, that's a driver that was texting, or that's a kid doing this, that, whatever, like whatever. Okay. So now you're applying prejudice. Now you're applying a label. Okay. Now you have energetically joined. Now you manipulate the situation into what you want it to be, according to your perception. But when you're the observer, you disconnect from the situation. Now you're just an observer. It's like you're in a video game and you're not participating in the game. You're just like walking through the game. The game is happening, right? But you're walking through the game and you're just observing. You're just there to see. You're just there to look, to observe. Now what? Well, now you can pick and choose your reaction. Now you can pick and choose what you want to do next. So when I walked up to her car, I looked at her. I saw that she was scared. I saw that she was afraid. I said, were you texting? And I said it like that, just like that, in that tone of voice. And she looked at me and she said, no. You see, now, if I would have said something like, what, were you texting? Different scenario. The whole thing, the mood, the whole thing would have changed. Okay? But I had training in this. And this is what I teach my professionals. Because they work with people, because they deal with people, because they have what I call high-powered, professional jobs. But that just means that they have, very heavy workloads and big responsibilities. Okay, but when that happened, she just calmly responded back, no, I was looking for my friend's house. And I said, don't worry, it's just a car. And she looked at me. That's when she looked up and she went, huh? Because I was supposed to be mad. I was supposed to be angry. I was supposed to be whatever she had seen in those circumstances before, either online or whatever, or social media or, whatever. So it took her aback a little bit, right? But this is what you need to do with mindset, with just a regular everyday occurrence, not necessarily a accident or a catastrophe or a natural disaster or anything like that. This is important for your manifestation. Why? Because manifestation is going to happen whether you believe in it or not, whether you want to, acknowledge it or not, whatever. It just is. It's through your subconscious. Now, if you teach your subconscious to respond like this, okay, right? Repetition, you teach it to respond like this, then what does that do? That allows you to respond intelligently, even in unintelligent situations. So in other words, what I'm saying is that somebody can be going off in front of you, okay? And you're just observing. It's like you're a television camera or a video camera. Your eyes are just, you're looking. You're not formulating an opinion yet. You're just observing. In other words, you don't get that tug. You don't get that gut feeling to jump in, to do something. Because when that happens, they have control over you. Okay, I used to work with people all the time that would try to trigger anything in anyone. Okay, and I used to play along because I caught on really quick to this thing. So I used to play along. I used to react for them. So they would get a kick out of it. Okay, but when things were serious, when it wasn't about joking, when it wasn't about something playful, when it was more about more along the lines of let's say something serious, right? Then I had control. And I had control of the situation. And the key to doing that is, in that situation, when you become the observer, they automatically think that they're controlling the situation. But they're not. Because you receive the desired outcome, not them. Why? Because the tennis match, remember yesterday? I taught you guys the rules of engagement, the rules of power. When you hit the ball, when this one hits the ball in the court over here, it scores a point. This one just stays there. Who controls the game? This one. Why? Because there's no action from this one. There's no response from this one. Therefore, there is no game. This one scored a point. Big deal. So in other words, anybody can talk. Let them talk. Give them enough rope to hang themselves. Let them talk. Let them be. Let them act. You don't have to react. Let them act. So who controls the game? Well, they think they control the game. Why? Because they scored a point. That's the illusion. That's the illusion. Always let your opponent think they won the game. If you really want to read a good book, read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. It's a very good book. I highly recommend it. And this will teach you more about attachment and the rules of engagement and the rules of power. Robert Greene is also, The 48 Laws of Power is also a good book to read. All right, so now attachment, right? So this is just, I went off on a little tangent on the side over there to fill you in on certain things. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Darlene. How you doing? So now attachment. When you attach to something other than yourself, you give that power over you. So if it's the truck, right? Oh, I love my truck. Oh, shine up the truck all the time. Accessorize the truck. Love the truck, right? The truck has power over you. Why? Because when something happens to the truck, it triggers you. Okay? Okay. I was at that stage of life, before when I started manifesting bigger things back in 2007, and I started getting attached to things. And then I started realizing how I was treating these things, inanimate objects. No heartbeat, no feelings, just things, right? And I'm like, wait a minute. Like something's wrong with this picture. Like I'm putting too much, I'm giving this thing too much power, right? Because a thing should not have power over a person. You ever see how money does that? Okay, I could do a whole hour on money. Okay, money does that. Because people allow money to tell them what to do. How ludicrous is that? Oh, maybe not so ludicrous because they have bills, right? Wrong. there's two ways to wealth. Okay, just briefly for those of you who haven't joined us before. Okay, so you can store up all your wealth. You can be like a crab and just grab everything and pull it back in the hole. Okay, or like a squirrel storing the nuts in the tree. And you can amass a huge number in your bank account. Okay, and remember that those numbers don't mean anything in the first place. Okay, just for context. But the second way is when you get close to God or the superconscious. Okay, I'm not here to tell you how to believe or what to believe. Okay, in my world, it's God. In my understanding, in my in my system of belief, and in that system, I will tell you that God is very, very real because I've seen it work in real time, like right in front of me sometimes. But in order to see these things, your awareness has to be like this instead of like this. If you've got a lot of stress, stressful job, whatever it is, right? Pressure, okay? Your awareness is going to look like this. This is just a visual. But when you relax, when you get rid of the stress, when you get rid of the junk, your awareness starts to go like this. Okay, this is why meditation is important. Okay, prayer is important, but meditation is also important because prayer is speaking to God. Meditation is listening to God. You have to do both. You can't just talk. You have to listen. You have to pay attention. And when you start paying attention, or let's say it another way, when you practice paying attention, which is what meditation is, you start to experience the expansion. Okay, because God, a lot of people tell you what God is. God is this, God is that, God has these 10 commandment rules, God has, whatever, I follow my Bible, this kind of stuff. Okay? I'm here to tell you God is bigger than that. Okay? That's just an outline. But for a human being to even articulate that they understand the will of all creation is preposterous. God is bigger than that. I'm going to leave it there, but meditation will show you this because God is in here. Jesus Christ said the kingdom is within. And when you go within the kingdom and when you sit in the kingdom, sit still in the kingdom. There's an old school expression. It says, be still and know. Faith is believing. There's a difference. We went through that the other day. There's a difference between believing and knowing. And you will know the truth. And the truth will set you free. What does the truth set you free from? And what is this truth? The truth is the expansion. Instantaneous knowledge that you get from the expansion just by sitting still. Because God is in here. But you have to allow God to work. And this is what Jesus was talking about. And when you sit still, you begin to understand. If you cannot sit still, if you cannot do 15 minutes a day, you have not felt the expansion. It's that simple. And within the expansion, you're going to find that when you label things, when you think of things, and you apply a label to it, okay? So when we name things, we apply labels. You're not your body, you're not your name, you're that spirit that lives in here, having a physical experience. But when you label something, when you say, okay, I'm Junior. So in your meditation, you may think, Junior, this, that. You're going to feel the awareness go like this a little bit. Not a lot, just a little. You're going to feel the difference, the reaction. And then you're going to go, oh, maybe I shouldn't name it. Maybe I shouldn't label it. Maybe I shouldn't prejudge it. Maybe I should allow it to reveal itself. And it reveals itself. One young person heard me talk like this a few weeks ago, and her comment was, you need a psychologist. And I'm like, well, not even many psychologists understand this. Some do. But the point is, what's in here, what's in you, is so huge. You don't really fully comprehend it. It's not even explainable in most senses. It's something you need to experience. Because there's no words that can adequately explain what it is. And this is why when you talk to a yogi or you talk to a spiritual leader, or, it's funny how certain denominations of certain faiths will tell you exactly what this is. This is exactly this. It's this way. But what the yogis say, and all religion comes from the East. Everything comes from the East. And what they say in the East is, I cannot tell you what it is, but I can tell you what it is not. And there's a reason for that. But part of this attachment, okay, to inanimate objects, to things that you label, to the label itself, is not really good for you. Why? Well, if you're a professional, I deal with professionals. So a professional will start to identify with his or her title, his or her position, his or her credentials, or qualifications, or achievements. And then what happens? Well, then they become, instead of Ben, it's Ben the doctor. It's Ben the PhD. It's Ben the dentist. It's Ben the judge. It's Ben the manager. It's Ben the CEO. And then other people start to identify with that. But what about Ben? Slowly, that starts to take a second seat. Slowly, that begins to take second place. Then what happens? Well, then there's an empty hole there. And sometimes those empty holes get filled with alcohol. Sometimes those empty holes get filled with inanimate objects, material things, shopping, sometimes drugs, sometimes whatever, what have you. But that empty hole is a bottomless pit because it never gets filled. So what's the solution? The solution is to go back to the person, to move from the position to the person. Because everything else, the whole time on the way up the ladder, that imaginary ladder, that has been the focus. The goal has been the focus. The CEO position has been the focus. The law degree has been the focus. The attorney has been the focus. So like this, on the way up, the focus is always that. When you identify with that, you diminish this one. So a lot of the time, I don't identify myself as a life coach. I identify myself as Junior. That's it. So it depends on the mindset that you have. Okay? Don't get caught up in your own hype. I was in an industry that depended on hype. Hype was the thing. That was it. It was all hype. And I used to tell my friends, I said, don't believe the hype. It's all hype. But it's there to entertain people. It's there to make people laugh. But when you get self-absorbed in whatever it is you're doing, then you become full of yourself. Okay, in a negative way. Because that's the left brain. That's the ego. Okay, the right brain is the creative brain. Okay, that's where I always live. I always have lived there, more than the left. Okay, you remember we say the how is God's job. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, not the left. the right hand. If you are joining Christ, you are joining Christ in the right hemisphere, not the left. So what does this mean? Well, this means that if you still pull to the ego, you're serving two masters, right? You have to decide which master are you going to choose. You're going to go with the ego, you're going to go with the logic, or you're going to go with God. Which side? The choice is yours. I'm not here to say what choice to make or what. I'm not here to influence you. I've been an influencer longer than influencing has been a thing. But I'm not here to influence you. I'm here to share an understanding on how the mechanics works, and you can choose on your own. You know, somebody told me the other day, because I made a comment, and I guess my comment was, you know, a little colorful. Hi, Tameka. Welcome. You know, and they said something about me contradicting myself as a life coach. And I laughed at it because I have my opinions. I express opinions, good or bad. They may be a negative opinion, I'll express it. If I feel it's warranted, I'll express it. But this lady was saying some very vile, ugly things, right? Online. And I'm like, okay, so I made a comment. And then she told me that I was a hypocrite. And I'm like, I think she has the wrong idea of my training. I'm not here to say be a good person. I'm not here to say you have to be good, or this is evil, this is good, and you got to be over. No. I'm saying that this is how to work this system. This system here, this one. Okay? The God is real part is my understanding for me. Okay? If you believe in God, then there is the conscious, the subconscious, the superconscious. God is in the superconscious category. If you don't believe in God, there is only the conscious and the subconscious. But either way, the subconscious is the book of life. Everything is written in the subconscious. Manifestation happens whether you believe in it or not, whether you want it or not, whether you're aware of it or not. What I do with people is I show them how to fine-tune this manifestation process so that they can write things into being, so that they can speak things into being. You can speak things into being like God spoke the world into being in the Bible. It's talking about the subconscious. How does that work? When you speak, your subconscious is listening. Okay? So try this experiment for 2 weeks. Can you do it for 2 weeks? Let's try. Okay? Stand in front of the mirror. Okay? Stand in front of the mirror and point to yourself and say, you are outstanding. Just do that. Do that for 2 weeks. But you got to do it every morning when you get up, when you go to brush your teeth. Okay? When you look like that, just getting up. Or wait till you get yourself together. Okay? And then look at yourself in the mirror and point and go, you are outstanding. Do that for 2 weeks. Tell me how you feel. Okay? All right. You want to contrast it with something? Okay. Point to yourself and go, you're full of crap. And do that for 2 weeks and see how you feel. Subconscious. Okay? Now, when the outstanding part becomes a belief, guess what your subconscious is going to do? It's going to look for evidence of it. It's going to go, okay, let's see all the outstanding things you did. And it will pull something from 3rd grade. It's like, yeah, remember when you won the track meet in 3rd grade? There, boom, there you go. Confirmation. You remember when you were in 7th grade and you got 1st place in the, blah, blah, blah contest? There you go, boom. Remember when you got the straight A's in sophomore year in high school? There you go. It will pull all the outstanding moments out from your subconscious. It will show you. What's the other side of the coin? Well, when you believe you're a failure, and this is why this belief in this one is all you need to succeed for anything. money, relationships, occupation, anything. So what about when you have negative beliefs? Oh, it will go in. Hey, remember the time you screwed up that? That you remember you did whatever. Remember when you're baking cookies and you put too much such and such in the recipe, and then the cookies, yeah, fell apart and everything was junk. Okay, same thing. It'll take all this evidence, and this is why your mind attacks you. This is why people's minds attack them. And then they go on what I call a downward spiral. Okay? And they cannot pull up. It's like watching a plane, and the plane is going like that. And the pilot cannot pull up because he's not strong enough. Now, that's a metaphor, but it happens every day. And to solve this, okay, sometimes people take it upon themselves and they start drinking, they start using drugs, they start coping, they start whatever coping mechanism that they come up with, or they go to therapy. I had a client when was it? 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I had a client. I solved her problem in 2 sessions. 2 sessions. Well, I identified the problem. Now, identifying a problem is not as easy as you think. But I identified her problem in 2 sessions. Now we're going to solve it. Before you can solve a problem, you need to know what it is. When it's a subconscious problem, it operates beneath the surface. That's why it's called below. It's called subconscious. When you have a subconscious issue, it's working on the bottom. The 2 long nails. I'm a guitarist. I play Spanish guitar. So, yeah, it's not that funny, but okay. Yeah, it is funny when you see it and you go, what the heck is that? Yeah. You first have to break it before you can fix it. No, you don't have to break it. You don't have to break it, Manuel. You have to identify it. Breaking it is the fixing part. Breaking is the fixing part. And yeah, you don't necessarily have to break it. Like if it's a habit, if it's smoking, yeah, you gotta fast from it, kind of thing. But that's a process as well. And even if you fast from something, or let's say because I quit smoking, but it was a process. I prayed for an entire weekend. I isolated myself. I only watched Christian programming, and that Monday when I left my room, I did not desire to smoke. But yeah, we have a chat going on over there. Okay. But anyway, yeah, getting back to your subconscious. These habits and things that are running in your subconscious are subconscious. So you're not conscious of it. So this is why you need help in identifying things sometimes, right? And you go to maybe therapy, maybe a psychologist, and they run through a bunch of possibilities, and then you identify the problem. Now you can work on the problem. But first you need to identify it. Some problems are very difficult. Some problems are very difficult to find the roots of. But all the roots are subconscious. Because your subconscious, the subconscious tree, right, that I always talk about, the roots are the subconscious beliefs. Your paradigm, it forms your paradigm. Your paradigm is the way you see the world, your attitude towards the world. That's your paradigm, formed by your core beliefs in the subconscious. Now, the fruits of the tree are your actions. Your actions are formed by your paradigm. Your paradigm dictates your actions. Your actions give you results. That's why you say, you hear that expression, you will know them by their fruits. You will know them by their actions. Anybody can talk. Anybody can talk, but watch what they do. Gentlemen, when you go out with women, don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do. Okay? Ladies, same thing. Don't listen to what he says. Watch what he does. Okay? Same. So, actions speak louder than words. Words just throw people off sometimes. Okay? But to change these actions, these fruits on the tree, you have to start at the roots if you want permanent change, or let's say long-lasting change. And repetition is necessary. So what's the solution to all of this? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization all day long. Now, if you're too lazy to do it, okay, because that's where people give up, okay? So they give up like this. They go, okay, I'm going to do my affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization, and they start the first day. Second day, first week, finish, doing good. Second week, doing good, feeling the change, feeling the shift. And slowly, because they start feeling a shift, they go, maybe that's good enough. And then they start relinquishing the amount. What happens? Well, if you're reducing this side, guess which side is growing? This side. Guess what this is? This is the old paradigm. This is the paradigm you're trying to form. You get a little ways down the road and you start relaxing your practices. It goes back into the old paradigm. This is why in January everybody's in the gym, everybody's working out, everybody's right, because everybody was, loading up on calories over the holidays. Everybody, I'm guilty. Okay, I'm not judging. I'm just saying. But by March, everybody's falling off from the gym. They started out with a routine, they built a routine, but they didn't stick with the routine long enough. So the routine's not permanent. So now the diminishment of the routine over here, like, oh, maybe I'll just go twice a week. Maybe I'll just go three times a week. Okay, at first you're going 5 times a week. Oh, maybe I'll go 3 times a week. No, a couple times a week. Over here, right, Sir Isaac Newton, right, action, reaction. Over here, the reaction is like this. So it's like this, okay, workout. Okay, this is the borderline. This is the old paradigms over here, right? As this decreases, this increases, and pretty soon you have a shift like that. Okay, the shift is gradual, but you don't see it because it's subconscious. But it goes it's like this, slowly. Okay, working out 5 days a week. Okay, maybe 3 days a week. Maybe 2 days a week. Maybe you're not cutting too much carbs now. Okay, and that like this, and pretty soon you're like this again. That's how it happens. Try going on a keto diet. Try going on a really strict keto diet where you don't touch any carbs for a while. And then you taste bread for the first time. Like the old school Atkins diets, right? I used to drop 40 pounds like that. Easy, overnight. I can still do it. Even with my metabolism as an older guy, I can still do it. I take pounds off like overnight. I do it subconsciously now. But back then it was just the food part. And then you have that one taste of carbs, right? And then you go, maybe I can have one more bread. Yeah, maybe I can have a sandwich. Yeah, maybe I can have one sandwich a week. And pretty soon it's like, maybe I'll have one sandwich a day, and pretty soon you're making sandwiches all day. I'm just trying to be funny about it, but that's the way it works. Okay? That's your subconscious. Your subconscious learns in repetition. Okay? So when this happens, you wonder why, how come it's so hard? And some people blame the devil. Well, the devil made me do that. Well, yeah, Satan took me from working out 5 days a week to like 3 days, and then 2 days, and then he got me, and then I'm back to where I started. Okay, so I'm here to tell you that you have more control than that. I'm here to tell you don't need to blame Satan. You don't need to blame anybody else. You can take full accountability and full responsibility, and just know that God is in here. Okay. And when I say God is in here, I mean the power that you need to conquer anything and everything is in here. All you have to do is tap into it. All you have to do is make that commitment with your conscious mind. Okay, we're doing this. Then, right, a belief is a thought you keep thinking, so you keep thinking that thought. You commit to it. You become that center point, that your timeline will respond to. Okay? Then what happens? Well, then it goes into your subconscious. Now it's in the subconscious as a belief. Now it's a belief. Now what does the subconscious do? It gets confirmation of it, right? Confirmation, confirmation, confirmation. What does the superconscious do? What does God do? Well, as you take the steps, God opens the doors. God brings the right people. Okay? All of a sudden you meet somebody, right? You meet somebody. Let's say, for example, relationships. I've done this a lot. Okay? All I do is, with the conscious mind, okay, I anchor a center point. Okay, she has to be fun. She has to be this, that, whatever. I define that part. Then I put it into my subconscious. Okay? This is the goal. This is the goal. And I wait. Guess what happens? She shows up. Why? Because God brings her. Okay? As you take the steps, okay, maybe one of the steps, I didn't take any steps. And you got to know that there's a lot of things that you can do just by thought alone, because thought is an action. You know, people will say you got to take action on stuff. You got to take action. You got to take action. Thought is an action. And I'm here to tell you it works. And you don't have to keep thinking about it all the time. But you need to apply a certain amount of focus to it before you let it go. And then you let it go. Then don't even think about it. You know, that happened many times. And she showed up. Boom, there she is. And then it's fun. Fun. Going out, having fun, doing, you know, whatever. And then sometimes it just goes the way it came. And you have to be good with that. It's about the journey. It's not about a destination. It's not about locking someone down and making someone uncomfortable. It's about having good experiences. It's about living a quality life, whatever that is for you. If that's locking down someone, go ahead. You know, if she's down for it, okay. I know these guys have been married over and over and over and over. Serial monogamists. Okay? Serial monogamists. It's a thing, look it up. And they have to be married. But subconsciously, they're looking for a mommy. Subconsciously. I'm talking about men. Okay, women do it too. We're human beings. We don't like to be alone or lonely. Some of us can be very much alone and not lonely. It depends on what you do with your mind. It depends on your mindset. Now, if you're needy, okay, if you need to be married, if you need a relationship, if you need that princess, okay, sorry, but I just threw that in there to be funny. But if you need, right, you need someone that you can lift and put on that pedestal and feel good about, okay? She's not gonna feel good about it, but if that's what makes you feel good, then okay. Then you will complete that process over and over until you learn. Okay, some of the guys that I've known in my life, they never learn. One to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. But just know that those things are subconscious. You can fix those things easily. Easily. And if signing a contract with somebody is your thing and you want to make that commitment to your higher power, your higher self, to God, to whatever, do all that stuff and do it that way, okay, good. But you can do it just to God. You can do it just with your Bible, like they used to do in the old days. Write it on the inside of your Bible. You can do it that way. Okay. Those of you young ones who aren't quite familiar with the system, just know that the state contracts to the girl, the state contracts to the guy, and then they bring you together. Okay? God doesn't have any part of any of that. Okay, God is bigger than that. Okay, but God isn't here. So when you're depressed, when you feel lonesome, when you feel lonely, when you feel rejected, okay, God isn't here. Tap into that. It doesn't matter if you read a Torah, if you read a Bible, if you read whatever you read, Quran, okay? But apply those principles of your belief system to this one. Because the answer is in here. The answer is not out there. What happens when you get out there? Well, the attachment we were talking about. You start labeling things. This is that. I feel like that. I feel like this. I feel like, like that. Now you take what is here, what is divine, what was given to you as a blessing, and you apply it to an inanimate object, another person, another label, another maybe, a thing, right? Something else, something outside of you. Now you're saying, that's what I am. No. You're here. This is what you are. Okay, you're in here. You're in here. Okay, thank you. Oh, Rosanna. Hi, Rosanna. There's my buddy. Miss you, Rosanna. So when you take yourself and you give it away, okay? When you give away what God has given you, okay? Your blessings, when you take that and you say, okay, I'm that, and you put it over there, you're doing a disservice to God. I see religious people do it all the time. All the time. All the time. And what happens when you do this process over and over and over again? You don't believe in this one anymore. Lack of self-confidence, lack of self-esteem, lack of self-belief, lack of self. And what's the excuse? Oh, the excuse is, no, he is greater than I. That's the excuse. He is greater than I. Or sometimes she is greater than I. Or sometimes my truck is greater than I. Or sometimes my house is greater than I. Or sometimes my profession, my doctorate is greater than I. My highly esteemed career is greater than I. And then one day you get to the end of the road, you get to the retirement, right? And everybody goes, yeah, well, hey, happy for you. Oh, okay. And a week later, nobody remembers. A week later, nobody's thinking about it. A week later, it's not important. And what are you left with? Memories. And what are those memories? Oh, the PhD, the truck, the girl, the this, the that, the that. What about you? What about you? Now, regret sets in. Or the possibility of regret sets in. Because life will catch up with you. Things will catch up with you. In other words, what I'm talking about, okay, I'm not talking about like you do bad things and then judgment's going to catch up with you. Okay, judgment already happened. Judgment happens pretty quick. Okay, you do something bad to somebody in the morning, you don't put it together in the afternoon when a contract falls through or something goes bad. Okay, but it's already happened. Judgment happens pretty quick. God will not judge you. God does not punish. We punish. Okay, our decisions punish almost instantaneously, because when you do something, it already set up the reaction. It just didn't get here yet. That's not the thing. But life catches up to you when you're running. Okay, when you're running, you're like this. Okay, here's life. It's following, it's following, it's following, and you're pretty successful at running. Okay, you're running through life, running through. Okay, this over here. Okay, yep. Go. Work. Title. Prestige. Material things. All this stuff over here. Pretty soon, there's going to be a time where you cannot run as fast. Gotta slow it down. Why? Oh, maybe it's age, maybe it's retirement, Maybe now you're on the deck of the cruise ship, right after you've retired, doing those final few cruises before the lights out, okay? And you're on these cruises, and what are you left with? Your thoughts. Thoughts become things, okay? And then you start thinking, all this whole time I've been running. This whole time I've been neglecting myself. All this time I've been identifying with the house, the career, the job, the girl, the this, the that, the dog. And now what? Now the gap is starting to close. It's all catching up with you. And what's in the gap? It's the shoulda, woulda, coulda. And it keeps coming. It keeps coming. And one day, there you go. It hits you. And that could result in depression. That could result in a very unhappy few years before it's too late. How do you get rid of the gap? How do you get rid of this gap? Okay, I was doing the same thing, right? Ambition. Boom, 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 boom. Let's go, 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 right? But there's this safety space right here. I call this a safety space, okay? Because what's catching up with you can't catch you yet, okay? But it's coming. It's over here. It's following. It's coming. It's coming. It's waiting for you to slow down, okay? It's not the devil. It's not evil, okay? It's the conditions that you've created. It's the gap that you've created. It's the gap that college created. It's the gap that high school created. It's that imaginary system, that imaginary ladder, that imaginary, I should do this thing, okay, in life. It's all of those things. And this is why, at 40 years old, the female CEO decides to quit her job, grow her hair long, and bake cookies. And take off the pantsuit. Because she's tired of it. She's sick and tired of it. Why? Because it has nothing to do with her and everything to do with the system. The system is the beast. So how do you get rid of this space? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. Because one day you won't be able to run anymore. And you will stop. Or let's say, slow down enough so that all of this over here, the gap is gonna go like this, and there you are, right there. And those thoughts will not be pleasant. And this is another way of presenting this idea of the fact that you don't want to be on your deathbed in regret. You don't want to be on your deathbed or in a hospital someplace or in hospice somewhere, or God forbid, I don't wish this upon anyone, and I'm not making fun of it. But you don't want to be in a situation like that, or a nursing home or a care home, or even your own house. Stuck in your own house when you're very, very old, going, I should have paid more attention to me. I should have taken more days off. I should have taken more trips to the beach. I should have been with the kids more. I should have stayed with the family more. I should have paid attention to the kids more. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I should have gotten out of that abusive relationship before it turned into a lifeless marriage, before it turned into a, whatever it turned into, okay? Yeah, there you go, Darlene, right? Love you so much too, Rosanna. Thank you. Thank you so much. Love, compassion, understanding. Yeah, you're gonna get mad. Yeah, I get mad. I say words I'm not supposed to say. Sometimes I say them forcefully, okay? But I apologize inside. I apologize after I speak it. Sometimes you just need to get it out, okay? Don't hold it in, Resentment is a small degree of anger that keeps running underneath the surface. And then when triggers come along, boom, right? And sometimes somebody is just a little irritating, but they get the load. Right? They get the load. They go, hey, what did I do? Whoa, whoa, don't bite my head off, right? Okay, so resentment is not good. How do you get rid of resentment? Forgiveness. Forgive. Forgiveness is for you. Okay? Forgiveness is not necessarily always for the other person, although you let them off the hook. Okay? But you let them off the hook in here. Okay? The kingdom is within. When you let them off the hook in here, you let yourself off the hook. Because when you forgive yourself. When you forgive others, you forgive yourself. Okay? That doesn't mean you're going to be their buddy. That doesn't mean you even like them. A lot of the guys I forgave, I don't even acknowledge their presence on the planet anymore. They're just not a part of my world. I don't wish them wrong or bad or evil or whatever. It's just nothing. Because when you let go implies exactly what I said. Let go. Okay? So you let go of drama, let go. Let go. You cannot let go and let go, but down the road I'm going to check in and see how you're doing. Right? Yeah, it's not like that. Okay? That's not the point. The point to letting go, let go. Because when one door closes, the other door opens. God opens the door. The superconscious opens the door. Whatever your belief system is. Okay, for me it's God. I say Father God. Okay, but for me that's what it is. For you it could be something else, okay? Whatever, universe, source, Jesus Christ. Okay, sometimes I say Jesus Christ. You know, Jesus Christ and Father God for me are in the same belief system that I have. And I read the Bible. Somebody asked me, you know, well, are you a follower of Jesus? Yeah, I'm a follower of Jesus. But to understand the true meaning of what Jesus was saying, and it goes pretty deep. It goes pretty deep. You have to take a lot of things into consideration. It's not just a simple scripture or a simple, you know, thou shalt not kill or thou shalt not steal. It goes deeper than that. Because you want to fix those problems at the root. You want to fix those problems in the book of life. Because when you fix it in the book of life, your subconscious is the book of life. When you fix it in the book of life, you rewrite the book. When you rewrite the book, you don't keep living the same chapters over and over and over. Now you have a new chapter. Why? Because you wrote the new chapter. You declared the new chapter. Okay, where's my pen? I am so happy and grateful now that I am what? You decide. Now that I am generous. Now that I am kind. Now that I am faithful. Now that I am loyal. Now that I am whatever it is you want to be. You can have, do, or be anything. Anything. You have to decide. You have to become that point, that center point. And when you become that center point, through the book of life, through your subconscious, now you've rewritten the chapters. Why? Because your timeline corresponds to you. Because you demand it. Who gives you the right to demand anything? God. And God lives in here. You're a co-creator with God. You're a partner with God. You want to call it God, source, universe, Jesus Christ, but you're a partner with Jesus. You're a partner with God. God is obligated to assist you, the superconscious. But only if your subconscious contains the subject matter. You have to believe first. In order to believe, you have to have your prayer, your intention, your desire, okay? And you have to place it firmly into the subconscious. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. You need to firmly implant that in your subconscious. Now you've written a new belief. When you install a bunch of these, now you have a new paragraph. Now you have a new chapter in the book of life. Now your way is paved, and now you follow your life path because your life path has been redefined. And now it will unfold for you in the way that you intend. So all of these mistakes you've been making, all of these things that just don't turn out for you, when you start doing it this way, guarantee. Okay? Guarantee. Thank you, Rosanna. Thank you, Darlene. It's 8 a.m. now, and it's time. Jade just said see you tomorrow. So, yep, see you tomorrow. If is there any questions on the chat that I've missed today? Let me see. I'm sorry. I just got yeah. I just had to let you guys know what yeah, I had planned for today. Anyway, so that's attachment. Okay, be careful what you attach yourself to. Okay, be careful. This needs to be preserved. Okay, when we're talking about spiritual battles, we're talking about this versus the adversary energy. Okay, the opposite energy. So, if you want to be good, the opposite for you is bad. If you want to, look at it as evil, okay, evil. If you want to be evil, okay, that's a choice. That's a choice. The opposite is good. Okay, so just understand. Okay, so we'll see you. We'll say goodbye.